Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed today's lunch, and I can tell by the volume in the room that there were lots of great conversations going on as well. Please continue to enjoy your meal, and note that we would never leave you without caffeine to fuel you for the rest of the afternoon. So it will be made available to you during a break after the Chancellor's address. Dr. DuBois has led the Virginia Community College system for 15 years. During his tenure, Virginia's community colleges have signed groundbreaking transfer agreements with more than 24 public and private universities, has become Virginia's leading provider of workforce development services, helped Virginia close headline-grabbing economic development deals, diversified community college funding sources, doubling foundation-led private fundraising, and have maintained a tuition rate that is 1/3 of the comparable rate of Virginia's universities. In addition, he's created a dynamic strategic planning task force that, working together, came up with our new strategic plan, Complete 2021. And he is charting new territory in workforce development through the initiatives like the Fast Forward program. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, help me welcome to the stage our Chancellor, Dr. Glenn DuBois.
Thank you, Van. Thank you. Welcome, friends. Welcome to the 2018 retreat. It's certainly a pleasure to see so many community college leaders here in one place, ready to roll up your sleeves and talk about some of the big issues that we face. So you notice the theme, disruption. That's the theme of this year's event. Why? Well, no one company is so essential that it can't be replaced. That was said in a recent Forbes article on the difference between innovation and disruption. I thought about that a lot, particularly this past year. As you probably know, the store, Toys R Us, went out of business. Closing their doors for good, the company tweeted out a heartbreaking photo of Jeffrey the giraffe, their 70-year-old mascot. Tweeted that photo in a store looking at empty shelves, waving goodbye with a sign that said, "I guess everyone has grown up. There's no more Toys R Us, kids." And just like that, boom. The curtain dropped on yet another major retail brand that opened before I was born and was the hallmark of the childhood of my 3 kids, and they enjoyed that. So going back to that Forbes article, no single business model or sector, it reads, are off limits to a raw burst of change. See, that's the thing. You might think that witnessing the closing of a big-name toy store is a sign that toys are no longer a big deal. Maybe we're just not buying them as we once did, but you would be mistaken. Our appetite for toys has never been greater. Today's parents are spending more on toys and gifts for their kids than ever before. In fact, market researchers expect the sale of smart toys, anything connected to the internet, will exceed $16 billion by the year 2022. And it's not just the gadgets, old-fashioned toys, retro toys as the kids like to call it, the Nerf guns, troll dolls, Barbie, are putting up impressive numbers thanks to our love of the good old days. So here's the bottom line. Toys are big, Toys R Us is done. Toys are big, Toys R Us is done. Forbes was right. Any company can be replaced. Every sector can be disrupted. What about our sector? What about us? What makes us think that community colleges can't be the next case study? Nothing about our first half century guarantees us another. We do know the need for higher education is strong and growing, but I feel its traditions are fleeting. Who pursues it? Where and how? From whom and to what end? Honestly, I think that's all up for grabs, all up for grabs. But let me balance that out with a positive thought. One person's innovation is another person's disruption. One entity's innovation is another entity's disruption. We elect the role that we play. We can be the innovators, should we have the vision and the desire to be. After all, our legacy is one of innovation. Our community college were created to do what no one else would do, to address the big unmet needs in higher education. It's been said that the easiest way to predict the future is to create it. Our founders knew that. They were the innovators. They understood the disruptions of their time because often they created them. I sometimes wonder how those early leaders of ours would fare today in Virginia. I bet they barely recognize it. Our population is nearly 3 times what it was in the middle of the last century. The diversity and immigration that is driving our success today was little more than a rounding error on a census report of their time. And everyday technology that propels our workplace would simply confound them. Yet those early community college leaders gave us everything we need to succeed in today's Virginia and to secure the future of both our colleges and our Commonwealth. What they gave us was a system and a mission infused with the DNA of flexibility and responsiveness. So that challenge falls to us, my friends, to carry forward the best parts of that legacy. From the outset, we served a different kind of a student, right? In the middle of the last century, the phrase college student caused no confusion. Universities, public and private, served young people mostly directly out of high school. They went to class full-time. They lived in dorms. They ate at the mess hall. They attended football games and basketball games. They wore sweaters with the college letter on it. They were mostly men, and they were almost entirely white. Most majored in the humanities. But community college students were a bit different. You see, they lived nearby. They drove to and from a campus to attend classes. Some were in the high school the year before. Many had been working for a few years. There were a lot of military veterans back then. They typically worked part-time while they took their classes. Their studies were often vocational, focused more on career training than the contemplation of humanity. And while it was subtle, the classrooms they sat in were a little bit more diverse in gender, race, and age. Over time, the differences between the typical university student and the typical community college student have grown more stark. Simply put, our students today are older, poorer, more likely to be the first in their family to go to college, like I was, and they're more likely to attend class part-time and more likely to attend part-time while working full-time. That working statistic is significant for us and, more importantly, for the success of our students. A recent national survey found that nearly half of those working students are low income. Those working students are more likely to attend community college and to be more diverse. They are disproportionately African American, Latino, and women and first-generation college students. Low-income working students are less likely to earn a credential. even if they come from the upper end of the academic performance distribution. Let me repeat the last point. Even if the individual is a strong student academically, the challenges of being poor and working while studying often means they won't graduate. That is in part why it's a mistake to refer to our institutions as two-year colleges. 3 out of 5 of our students attend part-time. They take about 9 credit hours a semester, and it takes them 5 or 6 years to graduate, if they make it. The students who pursue traditional academic degrees with us, we know they're older than the university counterparts. Nearly half of our students are minorities. Nearly half of our students demonstrate financial need. In rural Virginia, it's even more. Poverty, as you know, is a major hurdle to college progress and completion. At least 15 of our community colleges operate on-campus food banks to serve hungry students. What about the other 8? Perhaps they should follow suit. In a national study released last April, 42% of community college students indicate they struggled to get adequate food. 42%. 9% said they'd gone at least one day in the last month without eating because they didn't have the money. I recently heard a story from an instructor about a student he perceived to be slacking off in class. And he asked the student to visit during his office hours with the intention of really pushing him hard. You know, the old nose to the grindstone approach. Get your act together. When the meeting happened, the professor became, over time, increasingly annoyed because the student wasn't paying attention. Instead, the student kept looking at a granola bar on the right-hand side of the desk. And finally, the professor, out of frustration, said, "If you're that interested in the granola bar, would you like to have it?" The student said, "You know, I really would. I haven't eaten anything in 2 days." This is our new reality, my friends. Housing insecurity is another issue we face. That same national study came out last April, found that 46% of community college students said they had difficulty paying for housing and utility bills. Just recently, we talked to some students on one of our campuses for one of our blogs. Her name was Karen. She's 19 years old. She told us that she worries every day about her housing situation because, you see, Karen lives with her grandmother, along with 2 other family members. And it's a tenuous situation because they go month to month, and they're not sure they're going to get enough money for the next month's rent. It's a big financial strain, Karen said. Karen isn't alone. Whether it's food insecurity or housing insecurity, students throughout our colleges are living through the reality of those national findings. And I think we're serving many people who are overcoming challenges that don't really neatly fit into surveys. I recently heard from a mother and a daughter, both excellent students at one of our colleges, John Tyler, who would have had to drop out were it not for the help of a student emergency fund that the College Foundation had. A car repair bill left them without the money to pay rent. The emergency fund was the difference maker, Dan Dixon. What made their story even more incredible is that they, mother and daughter together, fled from a decade-long abusive relationship in a big city in another state. In fact, they had to use the back door of their church to avoid the abuser who was stalking at the front of the church for them on a Sunday morning. And they told us that they believe it's God's plan for them to land at John Tyler Community College and to get the compassion and the support they need to earn a better life. And who am I to say that they're wrong? So our biggest challenge in serving these students is one that you are all too aware of, and that's the fact that we're serving fewer and fewer of them every year. We're now in the 7th year of a historic enrollment decline, a drop that has affected all of our colleges throughout much of the nation, a disruption that has affected our thinking, At this time last year, a task force that we created was just gearing up to examine this challenge. It was led by President John Kapp at Central, co-chaired by President of Germanna, Jan Gullickson. 4 of our state board members took a big interest and served on that task force. Peggy Lane, who's with us, Robin Sullenberger, our chair, and Eleanor Saslow, who's also with us today, our past chair, and Walter Stosh. I want to thank them and all the members of the task force for their hard work and the good thinking that they put into the report that just recently our state board accepted and was excited about moving forward. The task force has embraced a number of innovations that many of our competitors in the for-profit sector are using, and they offered 10 broad goal areas for us to pursue. A lot of that work is already underway. It's going to take time to fully implement. After all, we don't have the luxury of grounding these airplanes as we go along. And despite the enrollment decline, we continue to serve more than 250,000 people through our programs. All the repairs, rethinking, and refitting we're doing will occur mid-flight. That includes our work to make it easier for people to enroll in our colleges with our new, simpler, more intuitive application with our partner, ZAP. It includes our work to make it easier to onboard students through implementing EAB Navigate. It includes our continued VACA work to ease the process of applying for financial aid by creating fillable forms through Automation Engine. And our work to implement structured pathways, make it easier for our students to begin and continue their studies with the end in mind. It also includes our work with Ad Astra to help our institutions more efficiently schedule their offerings, our work to expand credit for prior learning, to create opportunities for workforce credential earners, similar to the work that we did to help veterans and military-related students, and our work simply doesn't end there. Through a piloted effort, we are once again to rethink what we now call developmental education. This coming year, we will study, for lack of a better term, the feasibility of direct placement. And we're modernizing the student experience through our new learning management system, Canvas, and ALMA, our new library system. And lastly, let me mention the groundwork we're laying for what will now become a significant resource request from the General Assembly, and that is to add to the number of student success coaches, counselors, and advisors that work on your campuses, and in many cases across the community to help our students. We simply don't have enough of those people, and they play a critical role in connecting those we serve to what we offer. The need for more coaches was a major finding of last year's JLARC report, and so we're working on crafting what hopefully be a timely major proposal to expand those resources on your campuses. Step 1 will be this next coming session, and the big ask will follow in the next session. So taken together, my friends, that's a lot of reform to what we do and how we do it. But moving forward, those many reforms and our legacy of certain students who are different, they're going to serve us well. It's preparation, really, for what I believe will be the biggest disruption to come in higher education that any of us have ever seen in our lifetime, and that is America's shrinking birth rate. When I was 18 years old, just starting at my community college, There are more of us than there are seats available in community colleges, and that is simply not true anymore. Our nation's birth rate is at an all-time low. It has declined 12% since the year 2007. Beginning in 2026, we will see a decline in the traditional college-age student that is more dramatic than we've ever seen before. And the Northeast and the Middle Atlantic will take the biggest hit. So what does it mean for our community colleges? What does it mean for the entire sector of higher education? There are more than 5,300 colleges and universities across the country. How many of them do you think will survive our sector's version of the Hunger Games? How many out of that 5,300? If you think the competition for the top billing on that U.S. News and World Report is a rough and tumble process, just wait until these institutions begin fighting for extended survival in a much, much smaller pool of potential customers. Top-tier institutions, don't worry about them. Harvard, Yale, UVA, they'll be fine. But regional institutions, they're going to spread themselves further and further. Small liberal arts colleges, many will close. Those that will try to thrive will continue to do what the others are doing, spread themselves. Students they turned away years ago who would have come to a community college, they will begin to look really attractive. All of this is to say, while serving 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds remains an important part of what we do, I suggest it probably won't be the most important thing that we do. Much like when our colleges began, our future will be about expanding the meaning of the phrase college student. Once again, there are people throughout Virginia older than the classic 18 to 24 range who need our help. They need our help, and we need them. Our future requires their contributions and their success. So we have a State Council of Higher Education, and they got a big, bold plan called the Virginia Plan. It aspires to see Virginia lead the nation for educational attainment with 70% of the Commonwealth's population holding a post-secondary credential by the year 2030. It's a big moonshot, 70%. The Virginia Plan echoes kind of our plan, complete 2021, to triple the number of credentials our students earn by 2021. So here's the thing, as wonderful as the Virginia Plan is, we're not going to get there just by serving 18 to 24-year-olds. We will not make it, even if all of them go to college and succeed. We need more people, which means we need different people. We have to help more adults, simply stated. People over the age of 24, we have to help them earn a post-secondary credential. There are career opportunities that exist today but didn't when these people were 18. These are careers offering family-sustaining wages but require skills and knowledge that these folks lack. We have an untapped pool here, my friends, of talent that lies beneath every community. It includes people who began but never finished college. It includes people who are working 2 or more jobs just to make ends meet. Parents, many of them are single parents. They have a car payment or 2, a rent, a mortgage. Not all of these people live below Virginia's poverty line. Some are just barely above it, making them really hard to see, hard to understand, difficult to serve. We have learned a new way here in Virginia to describe such folks. It comes from a big report published by the United Way. They refer to these folks as ALICE, an acronym, A for asset, L, limited, income constrained and employed, ALICE. Despite working, many of these Alice folks are having a hard time just affording the basic cost of living. They're one emergency from being completely broke. On average, they make less than $22,000 a year. Statewide, you'd be surprised. The number of households who qualify as Alice is 2 out of 5. The numbers are starker in some communities across the state. If you put Alice on top of households in poverty, you've almost reached 4 out of 10. I'm sorry, almost 50%. These folks, my friends, feel locked out. They're desperate for a way in. The truth is, however, very few of them will enroll in a traditional college degree program. Why? It takes too long. It's too expensive. It requires a sense of academic confidence that they don't have. They can't give you 3 years to get there. So how many people are we talking about when we talk about these adults, students? If we limit the conversation to Virginians between the ages of 25 and 44 who have not earned a post-secondary credential, we are talking today about 1.2 million people. That's current. Now that's more than 13 times the 90,000 Virginians who graduated from high school last year. More than 13 times as many. If that weren't enough, then look at the trending. Over the next decade, the number of high school graduates will shrink. The number of adults between 25 and 44 will grow. We simply would be negligent to ignore those population trends. We have to create opportunities for these adults, for Alice, 25 and up, that attract them, not intimidate them. Opportunities that account for the challenges of their lives. Opportunities like Fast Forward. That new program, Fast Forward, is now becoming our fastest growing credential. And it's filling critical needs in Virginia's workforce. This pay-for-performance program makes our short-term training programs more affordable, and the programs are more realistic for the schedules for Alice, taking only weeks or months to complete, not semesters or years. In just 2 years, our colleges have put more than 11,000 high-demand credentials into the Virginia economy through Fast Forward. We should really be proud of that. Fast Forward is attracting people who otherwise are not coming to our community colleges. They're older, mid-30s to mid-40s. The careers they're beginning after earning a credential is boosting their take-home pay from 25% to 50%. And that's a big deal, especially consider that 1 in 5 of our Fast Forward students, before they came to us, were on public assistance, 20%. Fast Forward has proven that it is the fastest way out of poverty. It's worth noting that we exhausted available grants in each of the program's first 2 years. But despite an increase in years 3 and 4, we expect to exhaust those funds too. Here's a brief side note. I know that some of you, hopefully not too many, but some of you do not share my enthusiasm for Fast Forward because you consider it kind of as an aside to what you're really paid to do, how you really get their money, and that's through the credit side. Well, I would ask you just for a moment to rethink that. Here's why. Fast Forward is not only our fastest growing program, it also seems to be our leading program in terms of customer loyalty. We have a success rate, a completion rate north of 90%. And we recently surveyed all of these folks, and most of them saw their experience with you as a beginning, not an end. Of the graduates we surveyed, more than half have already returned to your college for additional training or intends to do so in the near future. In addition, another 36% said they were unsure they would come back, but they were open to the idea. Taken together, that means 9 out of every 10 fast-forward graduates have either returned, plan to return, or they're open to it. So a question for you: who on your campus is responsible for nurturing those relationships? Who's responsible for helping your fast-forward graduate return for the next stackable credential? And if we don't have someone on that, shouldn't we? My friends, fast forward has shown to be a difference maker, but it has a lot of room to grow. Commonwealth is investing about $10 million. We're going to ask them to double it. Even if we get it, I can assure you we will still run out of money. The good news is that I'm encouraged by the conversations we're having with lawmakers. Our pay-for-performance results are encouraging our supporters, and they're turning around our skeptics. I'm hopeful that state leaders will increase the funding and help us leverage business and community support to increase it even further. After all, 98% of the fast-forward credentials earned have been in Virginia's top 12 career fields, as defined by business demand. Now, who wouldn't want to invest in that? Fast forward, however, will not be the only difference maker that policies will be considering when the General Assembly convenes. We're working with the members of the Northam administration to flesh out a proposal for what's often been called a promise program, or even labeled as free community college. It's basically a plan to expand low-cost or no-cost access to community college. And it's an initiative that Ralph Northam campaigned on to win the governorship. About half the states across the country have some kind of a version of this. One state, and that state is with us today and tomorrow, Tennessee, they have an accommodation for adult students. I hate to sound coy, but the details of the plan are still being kind of kicked around, created, so I don't have a lot to share with you today. But it's certainly something that carries a strong potential to change who we serve and how we operate. It's both hopefully going to be an innovation and a disruption. So as I bring my remarks to end, I want to offer a few things to consider as you experience this retreat. The disruptions that are approaching our colleges, they're significant. They're not one-offs. The need to be innovative and responsive is urgent. The community college at which you work today largely resembles the academic model upon which it was built. It still is designed to serve those fresh out of high school 18-year-olds. It's not designed to serve those who live the reality of food insecurity. It's not designed to serve those who live in or just above poverty. It's not designed to serve those who have demanding job schedules. It's not designed those to serve with low income and lots of dependents. Simply put, it's not designed to serve the students that we know need us the most. I'm perplexed. As our enrollment goes down, I see the need for us going up greater and greater. So I want to give you one example. I want you to play along with me. You've all been very polite, keeping your phones off. I haven't heard one go off while I'm up here. But now I want you to pull them out and turn them on. Go ahead. Pull them out and turn them on. And I want you to go to your community college website or a community college that might be known to you. Just Google it. Go to the www. Hands up if you're there. Are you there? Most of you there, getting there? Who doesn't want to play with me on this one? Keith, you don't? All right, you're there, all right. All right, so here's the little challenge. I want you to pretend that you're a 32-year-old single mother of 2 kids, and you just lost your job, and you're panicked. And a friend of yours says, maybe your community college can help you out. You've never been down there. So you go to their website, just like you're doing right now. So here's what you need to figure out. You only have 26 weeks. That's how long your unemployment benefits will last. So here's the challenge for you. In 3 clicks or less, no more than 3 clicks, can you find something on that website that really kind of looks promising maybe, that would get me to make a phone call or to go down to that community college and says, I need help because it looks like you can help me. 3 clicks or less. If you can't find it, how can they? If you can't find it, how can Alice find that? If they can't find it, how can we help them? I'll admit I cheated on this. I checked you all out. I did this on my own. I found that 5 of our 23 community colleges passed that test. 5. Come see me later if you want to know you're one of the 5 or not. Now, in the spirit of transparency, our own system office website did not pass that test. So don't get me wrong, folks. The food banks, the food pantries, they're good things. They are good. The daycare availability that exists at some of our campus, good thing. Our colleges are staffed with compassionate, dedicated people making heroic efforts to respond to what they see. I would suggest we got to go further. I would suggest we need to be structured to support our faculty and staff in ways that we currently and historically have not. We need to help them really meet the students that we need to serve. We must be deliberate, innovative, creating that structure. We got to lean back on that DNA of innovation and responsiveness. Establish a clear idea of who we are, who we serve, how everything we do supports students. Question, shouldn't that person or people that staff that food pantry perhaps be trained to help students obtain SNAP benefits? How about our faculty? Could we help them identify folks who may be eligible for SNAP benefits? Who's going to help a homeless student access some public support that just might be right around the corner? Have a place to live next month while they attend college? Who is building the program schedules that help a single mom find her way to a high-demand credential before her unemployment benefits run out? And who is ensuring that your website even can speak to that single mother in 3 clicks or less? What about our teachers? I was one for 10 years. I loved it. They hired me because someone thought I was an expert in my discipline. But now are we giving those teachers the training and support to understand and serve these new students? So you see what I mean? We need to take a hard look at how we're structured, put everything on the table. And I hope the conversations that occur at this retreat, I hope they're vital to shaping where we go from here. And you, my friends, I've been with you a long time. You play the leadership role in helping us build tomorrow's community colleges. So thank you very, very much. Thank you.